This is a 2019 Ducati Scrambler Cafe, and these are the top 5 things you need to know about this bike. Starting with the exhaust. This bike is very quiet from stock, and there's a very easy way to remedy this problem without spending a dime, and it'll only take you 2 minutes. So, as you can see here, there are 2 exhaust pipes and there are 2 baffles. I have removed one. You can remove both. The only issue is, if you remove both of these baffles, this exhaust shield here is only held on by 1 bolt, because what keeps this in place mainly is actually bolting into the exhaust shield itself, as you can see in the bottom here. And then there's a couple more screws down here as well. So you can remove both if you'd like, but then this sort of wobbles and it can pivot on just a 1 bolt. If you leave one of the baffles in, then it becomes very sturdy. The sound is actually significantly throatier when you remove one of the baffles. If you remove both baffles, I've tried them both as well. This difference between 1 baffle removed and both baffle removed isn't actually that large. So I would go with this setup, and it makes the shield much more sturdy. If you want to have both baffles removed, of course, you can do that as well. Some people have made some PVC piping to attach to the inner tube so they can still bolt it and have this sturdy. But anyways, this is a really, really good, cheap, well, not cheap, but zero cost mod to increase the sound of your Ducati Scrambler. Number 1. Number 2, I'm going to move over to the mirrors. So these bikes come with stock bar end retro mirrors, which is really nice. A lot of people probably are going to only want to run the left side. And the great thing is you can remove them without purchasing a bar end cap, basically, because these are actually 2-piece. It looks like they're 1 piece, and when you want to remove it, they come off as 1 piece. But on the bottom here, there is an Allen here. So if you remove that, then you can actually remove 2 pieces, take the mirror off, and put that back on. So that is another zero cost mod, and it looks great. It looks like you've already done something to the bike. That's number 2. Number 3, I'm going to take the seat off for this. So off comes the seat, which I've already had the key in. Underneath here, you have a storage space under your pillion. And the greatest thing is, you have this branded Scrambler Ducati thing. And why is the cover like this? Is because it's actually waterproof. This is to keep your contents nice and waterproof. And the great thing is the storage is actually big enough, large enough to put things like a camera, which I have here. Originally, there's going to be a nice toolkit, a Scrambler Ducati toolkit, also branded, and your manuals. I'm sure you're going to just take that stuff out. You might leave the toolkit in there if you're doing long rides, but if you're doing a really long ride, you're probably going to have a backpack and gear anyway. So I just took that out and decided to put my camera in there. Really cool thing, the nicest feature is the fact that they went through the time to think about this and make this have a waterproof cover. That's number 3. And number 4, we're going to look at this. There's actually a USB connection here. Some people may or may not know. So you can actually hook up your USB here and wire it to the front of your bike if you want to run a separate type of GPS system, or if you want to charge your phone and you have some sort of phone holder, which I do not, and I won't do that. But the option is there, okay? So that's really, really nice feature here. I'm going to put this back on now. I don't need to put this back on. And the 5th and final feature that I'm going to talk about on this bike is that these foot pegs, although they look like they are non-adjustable, they actually are adjustable. So you have these screws here and you can adjust, you can sort of move it. You can move the lever basically up and down. And a lot of bikes don't have that type of adjustability from the get-go. So those are the top 5 things that you need to know about this bike. And there's going to be, I'm going to add some supplementary things about this bike as well. So after riding this for over 200 kilometers now, engaging neutral is a little bit difficult on this bike unless you're sort of moving. So when you come to a complete stop, and you're in first gear and you're at the light and you're trying to push up just a little bit to get into neutral, it is very, very stiff on this bike. And that sort of goes with a lot of the Ducatis that I've ridden. Not a big deal, you're gonna get used to it. Basically, you need to just have the clutch engaged a little bit and rolling, and then you can just flick up and then you can get into neutral. Coming down from second to neutral is a lot easier, but once you understand how to get that first gear to neutral by having the bike rolling just a little bit and the clutch engaged, it's a cinch. And it took me some time to learn how to do that, but once you've learned how to do that, that's good. When you don't know how to do it, it becomes somewhat frustrating trying to find neutral all the time on this bike at the lights. And the other thing is that the whole bike is going to be an LED system. I think this is more like a brochure thing that you're probably going to learn, but you can see here that these are all LED and it's a lot brighter of a flash. So I think that's cool. And one more thing that I'm just going to add in there that again is sort of a nuanced thing that you're not going to be able to read is that the fuel gauge on this bike is sort of interestingly not accurate. So although they did add a fuel gauge on this thing, when the fuel light comes on this bike, the fuel gauge up here will actually still show half tank. So what you're going to believe, you're probably going to believe the fuel light. It probably means that you're going to be somewhat low on fuel. I think the fuel light comes on when the trip meter believes you have less than 40 kilometers left. But sometimes, like when I rode, that still showed 2 ticks on the fuel gauge and even showed half tank still left. So those are just some quirky things about this bike that I think that everyone should know, and hopefully it's definitely not a deterrence, but those are the top couple things about this bike. And hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please like. If you want to see more videos on my bike, please subscribe, and if you have any questions, please comment below. Thank you.